For this fast and easy Valentine treat, you'll start with a 4 by 6 inch piece of paper. You're going to score it on the 4-inch side at 1 inch and 3 inch. But notice, if you don't want to remember multiple measurements, you can just score it at 1 inch from both sides. Then on the long side, you'll score it at 2 3/4 and 3 1/4. But you could do the same thing, 2 3/4, flip it around, 2 3/4 again. Sometimes I like to remember the measurements in my head, and 2 measurements are easier to remember than 4. Then take your bone folder and simply reinforce all of your creases. There will be 4 of them. Once you've done this, we're going to create a diagonal crease. We're going to line up that vertical crease with the side. You can see how I use my fingernail to kind of start getting that little crimp started. When you bring the edge of the paper over to the edge, it creates a diagonal fold. We're going to do that again on this same side using the other short crease. So we're going to line that crease up with that edge. You need to force the paper to go down a little bit to get it started, and then it will easily cooperate. Line up your edges neatly. You'll want to use your bone folder to reinforce these creases as well. You can see what that looks like. Flip it to the other side, do the same thing, and now it looks like this. I'm going to take my liquid glue and I'm going to add glue on those little side parts. You want to make sure your glue is below that diagonal line going towards the edge of the paper. You don't want any glue in that center part, or it will prevent the little treat from opening and closing correctly in the middle. The next thing I'm going to do is punch a tag shape in the end. I am using a retired tag topper punch, but you can get creative with something different if you don't have the tag topper punch in your punch collection. Now it's time for some of the decorating. First thing I'm going to do is take a 1 3/4 inch circle punch. Of course, you could use a die that makes a circle about that size, and I did that out of Balmy Blue cardstock. Then with Sweet Sorbet, I'm stamping the large heart, and then with the Country Bouquet punch, you can see how that would get punched out. I have one already prepared here. Then for this particular treat, I used just a plain white small heart punched out of the Country Bouquet punch. So a little bit of layering, some glue on the back of the heart, attach it to the Balmy Blue circle. And then for the small white circle, I decided to go ahead and pop it up. So I'm using one mini Stampin' Dimensional and adding that right there on top of the red heart. Next, my greeting. For this one, I used For You. Any option would be nice there. It just needs to fit in a small space. And then with some Stampin' Seal, I am attaching that stamped and decorated image to the front of the treat. Press it down to make sure that it is adhered well. Now take your Ghirardelli square and kind of tuck the edge under, slip it down inside the treat holder, and fold that top edge as well. Now you can put your ribbon in. This time I'm using a ribbon from the January mini catalog, and I'm slipping the two cut ends through the treat, and then you see the loop of ribbon. I'm going to pull those ends back through the loop and give it a little tug. When you see me do it on the front here, I'm going to tug one end of the ribbon at a time, and that will really help to snug it up without tearing your treat. a little snip of the tails to even it up and make it look nice. And then maybe a little embellishing. This time I chose to use a rhinestone, but the pastel self-adhesive backed gems are really lovely as well. And there you have an adorable treat.